And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Kevin Miller with you here. It is time once again for Welcome Home. We have our friend Jennifer with us from Garden Plaza of Valley View. Jennifer, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You know, as we get ready, the seasons are changing. What's going on here at the great home at Garden Plaza of Valley View? There's always something going on.
It's a great time here. We've had a huge growth at the community. So above all, we have a lot of new residents that live here, which brings new activity, new food, new thoughts. So
Sure. So we have a lot of activities going on here. And who is this young lady?
this is my friend Joan. And Joan and I met a couple months ago, and she's moved here from her home in Kuna.
Well, Joan, good to have you with us.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you been?
Okay. I've been in Kuna for the last 15 years approximately and intended to stay there the rest of my life. And life surprises us. And so in May, I lost my best friend in the world, my husband, Kelly, and didn't know how I was going to continue. And I was staying at home, doing nothing, trying. I was really trying. I would get ready and go out. And then by the time I got to the front door, I'd turn around, go back and not eat and not go out. And then one day I took a drive and I had heard the name Valley View, checked it out, met Jennifer, and it just looked like it could be a real answer for me. For one thing, I could eat because there was lots of food here, and
Sure.
there were lots of other people, and people are so important. So Jennifer took me under her wing and showed me around and convinced me they'd take good care of me if I came here, and I came here immediately, the 1st of July. And I love it.
Well, what was it like? And we're sorry for your loss. What were you going through when you were home at your house by yourself, and you're trying to get up and hit the road and couldn't? Could you describe those feelings for us, please?
Well, I've worked all my life, and I hadn't been retired very long. My husband was very sick. I took care of him on hospice at home. And so my time had been occupied, even though it wasn't a really great way. But then when I was alone and in Kuna, I have lots of friends over there. I didn't particularly want anybody to come see me because I wasn't my usual self. I didn't feel like I was my usual self. And so I didn't eat, I didn't sleep. I lost weight. I tried. I'd call my sister and tell her everything was okay, but it wasn't okay. And all of that has been provided here.
Now, what did you do for a living since you didn't retire for a long time?
Oh, my goodness. I've had an exciting life. I started out of school being a credit manager for various businesses, a meat packing company in California. And then that worked into, I took a better job at a food distribution company. They offered me I could buy into it, which I was just so fortunate because I did buy part of that, stayed with it, enjoyed that job for about 12 years and then sold it. We all sold it. And I was so tired from working 4 in the morning until 7 at night that I took a year off.
4 in the morning till 7 at night.
Really, we all worked really hard at that distribution business, and I neglected a lot of things that I shouldn't have, but we all make the best choices we can as we're going along. And so I took a year off and worked on my real estate license, got my salesperson license, worked at real estate for a while, got my broker's license.
Now, Joan, where was that?
That was in California.
California still, okay.
Then my parents moved to Oregon. They were very sick, and I wanted to be near them. Actually, before that, I decided to try to balance my life a little bit with the real estate and so I decided at 40 years old to take flying lessons. Got my pilot's license.
Wait a minute, you were taking flying lessons.
I took flying lessons.
When did you sleep?
Well, now I'm in real estate. I'm not at that job where I have to be at the office all the time.
Okay.
So I could work that in with you calling to find out what houses were available today, and that was it was exciting. It was.
Well, what did you fly?
Cessnas.
Yeah.
Little Cessna 150.
And you liked that, huh?
Oh, I loved it. Loved it. I had a teacher that was a commercial pilot, and so I was really fortunate because he taught me a lot of things that I wouldn't have gotten from just a private pilot instructor because he had the experience, and so I had fun. I really enjoyed the flying. So I took my kids from Stockton, California up to Boise to see their grandparents, and let's see, I got lost in the, where am I going here?
That's okay. Joan is with us. You're listening to Welcome Home from Garden Plaza of Valley View here. Kevin Miller with you on 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Joan, you were giving us what it was like to be a pilot, and I think eventually how you ended up in Boise. You were visiting your kids' grandparents, and all of a sudden, I mean, you were in Oregon, you were in California, you were selling real estate, you were flying. Well, let's continue on.
My parents had lived in Boise for a long time. They moved to Oregon. They weren't very well. So I decided I wanted to live in Oregon. My kids were then out of the house. And so I moved to Oregon and opened a real estate office. And
you were the broker.
I was.
You were the boss.
It took a little bit of time after I got to Oregon to get those licenses because they were different than California, but I went to school and got them. And
now, what was your husband doing while you were working all the time?
Well, I hadn't met him until I opened my real estate office. And that's a really interesting thing, too, because I met him 25 years ago, and he came in my office and listed his property. And when I brought him the first full-price offer, he said, I didn't want to list my property. I just wanted to meet you.
Now, wait a minute.
Yeah, I know.
That's a great, you got to repeat that. So this gentleman comes in. He says he wants to sell his home.
Property, and he's out a ranch property.
So you're doing your due diligence.
Yes.
And you get him an offer, and he says he didn't want to sell it.
Exactly.
Wow.
And
talk about meant to be.
The offer had a trade in it that he nor I thought was probably a great idea. So I said to him, now you know you owe me a full commission because I brought you an offer. Which really wasn't true because he didn't accept the offer. But it was kind of fun.
Right. Boy, what a magical...
So then the last 25 years with him, we laughed a lot. Life has been good. We've had a lot of fun. And he's gone, and it's just really hard, but I'm doing a lot better here than I would be if I was sitting at home.
Well, that was a tough decision, and we'll get to that, but did you know at the time that he was the one?
Yes. I mean, I just was so attracted. We both were really attracted. He came in late in the day one day and said he wanted to sell his property. He sat down, and I did the paperwork, and I couldn't even look at him very long.
You couldn't look at him.
I had to look away because I was so attracted. I mean, it was just great. I can't imagine that.
Sure.
But I mean, I made a lot of wrong decisions, tried a lot of things, and then the last 25 were fabulous.
What's the key to success in life?
Laugh a lot.
Yeah.
Pay attention to what decisions you're making. When you're young, well, when I was young, it was kind of whatever looked fun out there. I didn't think far enough ahead. it's okay because I apparently had somebody watching over me because I got through it. I'm still here. Life is good. But the key is change your mind. You can change your mind.
Now, what
can
about
change your life.
you're a very successful person. What's the key to success?
Oh, dear.
I mean,
work
you
a lot of hours.
Work a lot of hours,
But
huh?
that's not the key because I would tell young people today, balance your life. Work hard at balancing your life. Pay attention to your kids. Pay attention to your husband. People are way more important than things. And I didn't appreciate the things I had. I once prayed, Lord, just give me one more $40,000 commission payment, and I promise that I won't just throw it all away. And you know, he kept watching over me, even though I wasn't making very good decisions. But when I realized that, the key to being successful then is to recognize what you're doing, give it some thought, and don't be afraid to make a change.
Wow. And you made a change by coming here.
Yes, and some people would say I made it too quick. They say don't make a fast decision.
Well, I'm going to ask you, Joan, to stand by because we're going to hear more from you coming up. Is that okay?
Oh, sure.
All right. You're listening to Garden Plaza Valley View. Welcome home on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. More coming up next, KIDO Talk Radio. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Garden Plaza of Valley Views. Welcome home right here on KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers, if you have a question concerning assisted living, senior living, independent living, any question at all, give them a call today. Garden Plaza at 208-322-0311. That number again, 208-322-0311. Pamela Sternberg with us once again, the general manager and the person that makes things happen. Thank you for now you've got another job, and that's hosting the show.
Yeah, I kind of like it. Maybe it's my calling. It could be my retirement job.
There we have
There
it.
we have it. I could sit in senior communities and just interview residents.
Right. And by the way,
I know everything they're going to say.
and who do we have with us?
Ruth Lambert?
Yes, Ruth Lambert.
Ruth, tell us a little bit about the good times here at Garden Plaza.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Sure.
Yeah, you can choose and pick whatever you want. I like that. There's a walking area inside and outside I really like. And
How much do you walk a day, Ruth?
I walk 3 miles a day.
That's a lot of steps. That's a lot of
Besides
steps.
everything else, I do the stretching, which I like. And I do go over to the therapy room and ride the bike and do stretching out over there. I like that too. I like my room.
What type of apartment do you have?
I have a studio apartment, and I like it. It's all I need because all I do is sleep in it.
Because you're out on the road. Mm-hmm. Whether it's here or elsewhere.
Well, I like the activities as an evening, and I don't know. I'm just busy.
I can tell. You are busy. Thanks for making time for us.
Yeah.
So, do you have any favorite activities that you'd like to share on the radio?
Oh, I like walking and stretching.
Okay.
Yeah, and Ryan is very good, the activity boy.
Sure. You have an activity boy. That's good.
And his name's Ryan.
Yes. Everybody should have an activity
Everybody
boy.
should have an activity. He's kind of like a pool boy, only
Right.
you get to have an activity boy.
You should have Ryan.
You should have a Ryan.
Right.
Because he's very, very good.
What makes him so good?
Because he's funny. He makes it fun.
Right. That is so important, Pam.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you also have family that lives here with you.
No. Well, yes, my sister-in-law is over in assisted living. Yeah.
And so you're able to go visit her?
I'm going over there pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's another, we have a lot of extended family in our buildings where brothers, sisters, aunts and uncles have been here. Even Lee, who was on, his mother was actually here at
Wow.
one point. So the longevity of being here 30 years does bring a lot to the community as far as they visited here before they ever moved in and had an idea of what we were, and it's just better when you get here.
Ruth, what brought you here? Your thoughts? How did you make that decision?
I don't see very good. I have macular degeneration, And my kids are all working, my grandkids, and it was hard for me to find people to take me to the doctor's, dentist, or wherever I had to go, grocery store. And so one time I said to my husband, I'm tired of this. And so he went out looking, and here's where I am.
How long have you lived here?
I lived 3.5 years here.
And you don't do anything that you can't handle. You've got Ryan, the activities boy. You stretch, you walk, you keep yourself very busy.
Mm-hmm. I'm busy. Ask Sherry.
You keep Sherry busy. That's important.
Yeah.
And you found more family here.
Oh, yes. That was another thing the kids, they said they were going to build a mother's quarters on their house. And then they said no, because she'd still be stranded and nobody to talk to or anything. And so this is really nice for me because I've made a lot of friends. And it's been just nice. I have no complaints.
You'll see her walking the halls. 3 miles in our building means at least 15 laps around the whole building. And she does walking in the park. And
Oh, I love the walking in the park.
Well, that is good. Ruth, anything else you'd like to share with us?
No, one thing I like is the cleaning and the cooking.
everybody likes somebody to clean and cook for them.
I don't have to clean no more, and I don't have to cook, and I don't have to do dishes.
That's great that it's all taken care of for you.
Yeah.
All right. Ruth, thank you. I'll get to walking. Thank you. And that's the experience you'll have here at Garden Plaza of Valley View, the number 208-322-0311. You know, there's peace of mind for Ruth and her family.
Oh, very much for. I think senior living and what we're trying to bring to our community here is peace of mind for families and themselves, safety, staying active. And like she said, if she is at home, even if she lives with a family member, they're still alone during the day. I mean, everybody has a life. And here, our seniors have their own life. They create their own friendships. They have their own private apartments. They can do what they want to do, not do what they want to do, stay active and healthier. I think what you see when they move in is that when they've been at home and it's very lonely and you're eating alone every meal, is that you come to the dining room and share a meal with someone. They eat better. The nutrition's well balanced. Our food is wonderful. But companionship is a huge part of what seniors lose as they age and become more homebound. And whether it's your eyesight or health or having any issues going on, we can compensate for those and give them a better quality of life. And that's all we're here to do.
You know, when you speak to family members, you know, and it's such a blessing that we have this program on the radio, because when it comes time for a parent or grandparent, you know, people will look at the internet, they'll do other things. This Garden Plaza, this facility, this home, I like to call it Welcome Home, this home has been here for over 30 years. That's a lot of equity, that's a lot of credibility. What do you say to people that are going through the toughest decision of their life, what to do with mom or dad? You deal with this every day.
I think the one thing is that you need to remember that you're not the only one that's gone through it. And sometimes if you come in and seek out, our main objective is to make sure that we listen to their story, make sure that the resident gets the services they need and placed in the right community. Finding that home, finding that support is what will make them successful. Everybody is not going to fit in every building or every place or everything. This is not a cookie cutter business. This is making sure that each resident's needs and wants are heard, and that you listen to the families and what their goals are. When someone moves in, when you have a couple like we moved that moved from their home, they needed help with finding somebody to help sell their home. We hired the movers to help them move. They didn't have a lot of family support to make that happen. Then we have the other extreme where you have 5 kids come in, and some of them are from out of town or out of state. They all want to weigh in and take a look and see what's going on, and we need to be available to answer those questions and realize that each child in that order has a different question and has a different goal for mom or dad, or wants to make sure in the end that they just have the best quality of life that they can find for them, and longevity. When you come to Valley View, if let's say you're in my independent living and you happen to have a fall and break your hip, you still come back for rehab to Valley View. You then can go to assisted living for 3 or 4 months if it takes that, and then get back to your independent living apartment. It's still myself that they call to do any of those things. We help to make sure that we know that they're in the hospital. When we send them out to the emergency room or something needs to go, we send the proper paperwork so that family is notified. We call family personally. We make sure that there's staff here 24 hours a day. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, if mom has something happen in her apartment, if she calls our front desk, somebody will respond to her apartment immediately. They'll have paperwork and stay with her until the ambulance comes or whatever services they need. It might just be calling a daughter to have her come in because she's concerned about something that's happened in the family. Those are things that we're here to do. If we coordinate and help them to have the best quality of life, they'll have success.
What advice would you give someone listening right now? We've gone through what you do here at Garden Plaza because everybody makes claims. I will say this. My uncle, God rest his soul, Alzheimer's. We had some issues with institutions. My mom was always calling. It's very frustrating. So for people listening right now, are there any guidelines that you could give them?
Everybody has a beautiful facility. When you walk in the door, though, there's a feeling. There's a sense of whether you're home or not. I say it's the people in the buildings, it's the people that make things happen that make it wonderful. You come into a property, and if we have the right answers, can help you through that process, and even if we aren't the right person for you, we can direct you in that direction and give you the right questions to ask to have success with your placement for your parent. I think that the main thing we do at this point is make the best decision based on where they feel comfortable, and that has so much to do with staff and whether you care, whether or not we're going to be here when you show up the next day. In senior living in general, there's so much change and turnover and different faces that probably walking into this building for 20 years and seeing Sherry's face as the activities director is a huge compliment to a built community, a program that works, people that are very happy. We've had people living in our independent living for 15 years. We recently had someone who was living in our independent living for 12 years, moved to our assisted living, has been there 3 years, and just turned 100. So when you listen to stories like that, when she walked in here 15 years ago, were they looking for a lifelong home? Yes. Are they getting it? Yes. Our end result is that if we can provide them, senior living truly is finding a place to call home for the rest of your life, however long that may be.
A tradition of excellence in Boise, Garden Plaza of Valley View, 208-322-0311. For more information, go to valleyviewret.com. Again, that phone number, if you have a question, 208-322-0311. You're listening to KIDO Talk Radio on 107.5 FM, 580 AM. More coming up next from Garden Plaza of Valley View. Welcome home on KIDO Talk Radio. Good afternoon, everybody. Kevin Miller here, Garden Plaza of Valley View. Welcome home. Hope you're having a great day. If you have a question about our wonderful home here, 322-0311, 322-0311. We're joined by Paul Orlando. He's a local financial advisor with Ameriprise Financial. His number, 914-6595. Paul, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Kevin.
So what brings you to Garden Plaza and to Welcome Home? Tell us a little bit about your experience here with all our friends.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it. So Garden Plaza Valley View is a home to me. I've actually talked to clients over the years and recommended the facility. and it's mostly because of the feel here that you can see today. It has a youthful feel. It's got all levels of care, which is real important for clients that want to just come to start out at the country club and enjoy a nice facility with their friends and play cards, all the way to the care levels that people will need as they're here.
Right. Well, that is important. And here we are in the afternoon, everybody having a good meal, getting ready for the big game. Let's talk a little bit about what you do.
Fantastic. I appreciate it. So I'm a financial planner, and what I do is I help folks get a plan, and there's a lot of steps in that. And in the old days, I think financial planners might have just diversified a portfolio and helped people make some money. And in today's world, it's a lot different than that. Today, we're helping people sit down and pick out what their goals are. We're helping them diversify, making sure that they understand their risk. And for today's thing, I wanted to make sure that folks were planning for the unexpected. In things like a long-term care facility, a lot of folks don't think about that. They don't know that they could need this care, and they'll have to take some steps to plan for that. So planning for the unexpected is a big part of what a financial advisor is doing today. The last thing I'll do is I'll help people with legacy as well, planning to make sure that their assets are going where they want them to, whether it's for their care or whether it's to their family.
Well, Paul, how do you find someone you can trust in your business?
That's a really good question.
That's the biggest fear.
Yeah. I would think most folks are getting a referral from somebody they know. They're working with somebody, and somebody has told them they've had a good experience, and they're going to get that reference from there. The folks from Garden Plaza Valley View asked me to come here because they've seen me bring folks here, come and have a lunch with them, or visit or do a tour with one of their managers, and basically make sure that a client is in the right place for themselves. I would throw one more thing out there, Kevin. If anybody's ever not certain when they're looking for an advisor, there's a website that's put out called finra.org, FINRA.org. You can look up an advisor and their record on that website. So if anybody has had any issues with clients, they can find all those issues right there. They're reported on a website.
Well, if you don't, are there any signs that you have a bad advisor, generally, Paul?
Boy, that's a good question,
and I know that
too.
you guys are really regulated. There's a limit on what you can and can't say. But just a broad overview for people listening right now that eventually, we're going to have to make some tough decisions. And I know what you do isn't easy for folks because there's nothing more emotional, more secure than, your resources and protecting the resources.
No, that's very important. Kevin, I think one way to tell would be, I think people should be able to pick up on it. People should be asking questions about you. It's all about you. If I'm just calling you and telling you I've got a great investment or I'm selling things or changing things every day, that's not typically part of the planning process or helping a client accomplish a lot of things. I think that a client should be hearing the right questions. And if your advisor is asking about your future, your family, your goals, that's probably a sign you have a good one. I don't think there's anything wrong with comparing costs and things like that, too. You certainly could ask second opinions on what costs should be. But other than that, if somebody's got your best interest at heart, they're probably the right person. They'll be asking about you.
Well, I think everybody's a financial advisor or wants to be these days because of the market.
True.
How important is experience, Paul?
Well, I've been doing this over 12 years now, and I can tell you you're a much better advisor 12 years down the road than you are when you first start. I think it's really important. I think that everybody learns a lesson in this business, and I don't want them learning it with my money, and you don't either. So a little bit of experience is very important. The training that you get is important. Some companies do a better job of training than others do.
Indeed. You're listening to Welcome Home, Garden Plaza Valley View. Kevin Miller with our great friend Paul Orlando, 322-0311. So let's talk about the folks that you have here. What type of work do you do with them?
Oh, good question. So we'll come across some folks that are getting to a place where things start to happen, and I'd love to talk more about that today, where they might be having a fall, they might be having some trouble getting up or getting dressed, or somebody's not there to check in on them enough. And when those things happen, we start in our planning process to ask people, what is their plan? And hopefully we're asking it well in advance of that. But if we've had a plan, most folks are going to pick one of four type of ways for their care. And so when you're planning, you'll ask a client what they plan to do. And if one of their plans was to have somebody help at a facility rather than their kids or something different than that of in-home care, we will come and visit a place like Garden Plaza, and we will come have lunch here. It seems like for folks that are retired, the food's really important. So that's one of the winners here for sure.
Sure.
The atmosphere is usually really important, the level of care that they can give them. So I'll come with them sometimes, or their children will come with them, and we'll have a visit, and we'll do a tour.
Okay, what else?
Well, what else is we got to make sure that we plan to pay for it. I'll talk a little more about that if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Paul, how does that work? By the way, Paul Orlando with us. He's a local financial advisor with Ameriprise Financial here at Welcome Home, Garden Plaza of Valley View on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. So I guess that's the key. A lot of us, we always joke about winning the lottery, and that's how we're going to financially plan for our future. You know that's not realistic, and you come up with these detailed plans. So.
Yes, I'm still yet to run a lotto winnings, so I'm waiting for that client still. So it's the facts are 70% of individuals are going to need some long-term care of some kind that are over 65 years old, and that is an astronomical number. Most people don't think it's them. But if it's 70% of people, you've got to have a plan. So with our clients, what we'll do, Kevin, is we'll ask them up front, what are you going to do? And the first that usually starts with the conversation is are you going to rely on family members? Most folks, when they hit the retirement age where they need help, they might be 70, 80, 90 years old. And what we find a lot of times is their kids are in the highlight of their career. So we just need to ask them. Some kids would insist on taking care of their parents, but most parents don't want their kids to take care of them. So we just start with that. What is your plan? Are you going to have the kids take care of you? If they say no, then we're going to ask next, well, are we going to get some help in a place that is a community? And that would be where Garden Plaza comes in. And if they're going to have a plan to have Garden Plaza come in and be taken care of at Garden Plaza or a place like Garden Plaza, we usually ask them how they're going to pay for it. Are they going to self-fund, or are they going to purchase some sort of insurance to pay for it? If they're going to self-fund, that's where our investments come in. We make sure that they're generating enough monthly income to pay for a place. Garden Plaza has very good rates compared to a lot of facilities that I've had clients go to, and also clients won't have to move. They can stay at all levels of care here. So the clients that come here can come and have independent living where they're just enjoying the community, assisted living where they just need a little bit of help, or all the way to nursing care where they need full-time care.
It is amazing when you think about this here, taking care of one's loved ones. So, Paul, tell us a little bit about working with someone's family.
That part Kevin, could be one of the bigger challenges. Sometimes I think some parents will change their mind and want the kids to help. Some parents expect the kids to help. A lot of times as parents get older, we've brought the family in and met them so that they know who the parents advisor is. And sometimes we're sitting down having conversations with the kids. We have recently had a case where the kids might be encouraging mom to get some help and mom won't. So again, we'll do things like tours. So a lot of times I'm talking to the kids and I'm hearing both sides of it, and you kind of, as an advisor, you end up being the middleman of trying to help the parents make the decision to come to community. I think that's one of the challenges I feel, because I know that the kids are saying they need to, and sometimes the parents don't want to, and sometimes they think it's the end, and it's not. People live in a community longer than they do without. There's another fact that I think is really important. They say that even though 70% of people will need some sort of care at age when they're over 65 years old, those 70% that need care, about half of them, it's longer than a year. But what we find is the folks that have the assets to cover the care, the folks that have an insurance that covers the care, they're living an average of 4 years longer than they are with folks that are on their own. So I'm trying to share some of that information, even though it's just boring factual stuff. I've tried to share it with the parents or the kids so that we can get them to help.
I don't think it's boring and factual, though, to people that are in the moment. And that's the challenge, Paul. I mean, eventually everyone will have to make a decision, and that's why we have this program to highlight the good works that you're doing. It's not a crisis until it hits us internally, and this is happening year after year. We have a lot of baby boomers who are retiring, and we've got another age cohort after the Generation Xers that are going to be continuing to get into the economy. So the idea of senior care or parental care is expanding.
It is. No, you make a good point. Everybody needs a plan. Our listeners need to make a decision one of four ways. They're either going to have their kids take care of them, they're going to come tour a place like this well in advance, they're going to self-fund to pay for something, or they're going to rely on a government care, or they're going to spend all their money, or not. These things they can be pricey. It's good to know in advance where you might like to be if you're going to pick a facility to get care for.
And you're pretty good at figuring that out for people?
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, I've visited multiple places, and I am good at helping people pick these things out. Yes.
All right, Paul, and you can reach Paul at 914-6595. You're listening to Welcome Home, Garden Plaza, Valley View on KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller with you here, and remember, every Saturday at 2 o'clock, we will be here highlighting the good works, the good stories of what's going on here. We're going to hear from some residents. We're going to hear more from people like Paul and help you make those tough decisions. That's what we're here for on 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Welcome Home once again, Garden Plaza, Valley View. Kevin Miller with you. Got a lot of guests today. We're really fired up. Joining us now is Eric Thompson from First Choice Physical Therapist. Eric, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Kevin.
Good to have you here. So let's talk a little bit about physical therapy and what you do. And we're going to talk to our special VIP here in a minute. But just talk a little bit about First Choice and the idea of physical therapy working with people that are older, sir.
Right. So I do physical therapy in home. So I come and see folks in their residential home, or I will also see them in assisted livings, independent livings, things of that nature. I do not see people in the hospital or in rehab facilities. They have their own in-house therapy. What we work on, I see people that have they've had a decline in their function, whether that's from a surgery or an illness, a fall. So I'll come in and work with folks and get them back to functioning.
That's easier said than done, huh?
Yes, sir. Yeah, but folks like Don here, they do 100% of the work, and I get to take 50% of the credit. He just makes me look good.
Well, Don, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Donald Mathis. I'm 90 years old, and I've been here almost 6 months now. And I met Eric here a short time ago and doing exercises and therapy with him.
Well, what is that like?
Well, that's real good. Walking my exercises, walking down the aisle, it's about 600 feet long, and do that 3 times a day. And also standing exercises, arm exercises, and back exercises, and leg exercises.
So 6 months here. Tell us a little bit about why did you come to Garden Plaza here at Valley View?
Well, I've heard a lot about this place, and I've talked to different people about it. And my daughter and my son-in-law and my wife, they took it and went through it and talked to everybody here about it. And we decided that'd be a good place for me.
Right, and were you concerned at first, or?
Well, my back was bothering me, and also my legs was bothering me. I have sugar diabetes, and I'm having trouble with my legs at the present time. And walking, what really helped me out an awful lot. And Eric helped me out an awful lot with my walking and exercises.
Sure, that's where Eric comes in, huh?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, if you could, Eric, share your experience with Don, what you're doing for him as far as helping him with his legs and recovery and.
Yep, and so with Don, our big focus, before I came to see him, he was walking up and down the entire length of the building 4 times a day. Because of his illness, he ended up having a decline in his function, and he was doing it once a day, up and down the building. So we worked on returning him both endurance and strength-wise to being able to do what he was doing before. And so some simple strengthening exercises and then endurance training.
Sure. How do you determine that? Obviously, that's what physical therapists do, but when you see Don, you talk to him, you see what he's doing, how do you determine what type of care, Eric?
You betcha. So I talk with him when I first meet Don. We sit down and we talk. Don, how were you doing 6 to 12 months ago? What were you doing? Were you needing an assistive device? Were you walking without one? How far were you able to walk? What were you able to do? And he paints me a picture, and from that picture, we set up some goals as to what we want to work for. And then as our therapy sessions progress, we push him harder and harder and harder. We start slow. And then as the weeks go on, we push him more and more. He's able to tolerate more. And then by the time we're done, he's met those goals that we set up together initially on our first visit. And I give him the graduation nod, and on his way he goes.
Does that sound right, Don?
Yes, it is.
So tell us a little bit about your life, Don. What did you do before you got here? What did you do for a living?
Well, I lived in Saginaw, Michigan. I worked for General Motors as an electrician. And I worked there 43 years and 4 months. It was quite an experience. It was always interesting. Whatever I was working on was always interesting. Always something new coming up. And it was, like I say, really interesting.
Well, how'd you end up in Idaho from Saginaw, Michigan?
Well, I met a girl there in Saginaw, Michigan.
That's what
She was
happens.
from Weiser, Idaho.
Yeah, tell me.
And I only knew her just a short time, a couple of weeks, and I asked her to marry me. And she was so surprised it wasn't funny.
Right. You're a quick one.
Well, she was only going to be there a short time, and I figured if I was going to ask her, I better get with it.
Sure, I bet. So you got married,
Yes.
and then what happened?
Well, we got married in 1962, and we had 2 children. And I decided when she was in Michigan for 40 years, and she came to Michigan and left all her family, friends, and everything else to come with me. And I decided that it'd only be the best thing for me to do turn about a real play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I did. I told her that when I get retired from General Motors, I was going to move to Idaho. She didn't believe me at the time, but I told her, we're going, honey.
And what was it like when you moved to Idaho with her?
Oh, I tell you, I loved Idaho. We used to come to Idaho every other year for a couple of weeks, and just on a vacation. And I decided that when I retired, I was going to move out here with her.
Sure. Mm-hmm. And you lived happily ever after, huh?
Yes, we have. She's a wonderful wife. We have 2 wonderful girls. Son-in-law is the same way, and grandchildren the same way. They're all wonderful, and I love them all.
Now, are they here or are they in Michigan?
No, they're all here. They're all here in Idaho.
Do they come to visit you?
Oh, yes, they do. Mm-hmm.
And what's that like when they come to visit you here at Garden Plaza?
Well, I'd say we only visit a short time, but it's wonderful. We have talk what's going on and what they're doing and where they're going fishing or they're going camping or whatever. It's really interesting. I get a real kick out of it.
Well, how do you spend your days here when you're not working out with Eric?
Well, sometimes I go for a walk. Sometimes I go to a movie or games and different things we have here that they put on. And it's interesting. I love it real well.
I can tell. So you're going to be here a while?
I'm going to be here quite a while.
All right. Well, we appreciate that. Eric, besides working with Don, who else have you worked with here? And tell us a little bit about what you do. I know that, if somebody has an in-house rehab, they focus on that, but you go all over the place.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I do travel all over the valley, seeing folks in Kuna, Eagle, Meridian, Boise, Nampa, Caldwell, even out in the outskirts. And so how do I originate a therapy session with folks is if they're in need of some physical therapy, they see their doctor and their doctor talks with them. Why do you need some physical therapy? And then they end up sending me a referral. And then I contact the patient. We get set up.
What's the biggest challenge when you meet somebody new? Because physical therapy can be quite demanding. Not everybody's like, our friend, everybody's all-American here, Don.
Right. And I would say that's the biggest thing I run into is people, over the last maybe 10, 20, 30 years have gradually done less and less and less every year. So
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, right.
That's not that funny, but yes, okay.
And so that is going to be a big mind shift that we go through. Is okay. We don't want to just get up and walk from the bedroom out to the living room and then sit on the couch for 3-4 hours before lunch and then go to lunch and come back and sit. So it's to really kind of start changing and giving them more activity and doing more. And I do explain to folks, when we start this process, I'm going to push you hard, but I don't want to over push you. And if we ever do anything and you're having soreness or fatigue, that's great. I like that. But if we're causing you any kind of pain, you need to tell me because that's not my goal. is to come by and work with you, and then you're in more pain after we're done. We're not helping you at that point.
Right, and that's where you come in determining good pain from bad pain.
Yes, sir.
Can you relate, Don?
That's right. He's right. He does a wonderful job. He does all the way through.
Right.
Yes, he has.
And I always inform the people when I first see them, the way I'm paid is the harder they work, the more I get paid. So oftentimes, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for them. But
So wait a minute, you're paid. They're actually working for you.
That's true.
Right.
Right.
Is it tough to convince people? The older we get, Eric, the more set in ways we get sometimes.
That's
unfortunately.
True. Yes, sir. Yep. Habits. Habits are a big thing to break.
So do you cajole people? Do you?
Absolutely. When I'm working with folks, if I come by and we just say, all right, let's do 20 squats, you're going to walk 1,000 feet, and then we just do the mundane exercise, it's pretty tedious, and people bore of it. I bore of it. They bore of it. So we talk, we laugh, we joke around, we get to know each other on a personal level, and then it makes the time fly by.
Does that sound familiar to you, Don?
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm. He's right on.
Right. Now, what about you? What are you up to as far as your future now that you're doing the physical therapy and getting better?
Well, I want to keep on going the way I'm going, getting better all the time, and I hope I continue to do what I'm doing.
Now, when you hear Eric talk about this, does this bring back a lot of memories for you?
It does, yes. Like he was saying about squatting and walking and talking and everything else, whatever. He helped me out an awful lot. He has.
I go back to that squatting. That doesn't sound like much fun. You're laughing about it now.
It is. Well, it's a good exercise. Any kind of exercise I've been doing and what I'm to continue doing is good for me.
What else do you do around here? I mean, they have a lot of parties. They have a lot of activities. I know you go to the movies.
Well, I go to the movies sometimes to watch TV. Sometimes we play different kind of games like bingo and different things. I mean, you can go for walks, or you can go out for where they take you out for a ride, show you the city. A lot of different things they bring up.
Right. They let you out on the loose.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's good.
It is. It is real good.
All right. Want to let everybody know you're listening to Welcome Home. Kevin Miller with you here every Saturday from Garden Plaza, Valley View. We've got Eric with us, Don with us. You're listening to KIDO Talk Radio.